Okay, welcome to Talk Tennis. Today we have Beckett.
Do I look?
You can look straight at us. We have cameras everywhere. So you're getting like a 360 degree. And you are officially TENNCOM. Yeah. I messed that up so bad yesterday on YouTube.
The profile is hilarious.
Also, like, you can't edit that. You can edit almost anything on YouTube, but you can't edit those like polls or things.
Well, I did not consider like any amount of dyslexia when I thought of that name because like it gets misspelled all the time and it was just not on my radar.
Oh my gosh, I couldn't believe it. And you had already commented and I'm like, I don't want to take it down. I don't want to delete it.
Oh, you could have taken it down.
I got fired. Not fired. I got fired.
Yeah, you're not supposed to be here.
I was going to say the comments were coming for me and I'm like, you guys, it's literally the Monday after the time change. It's like 7 in the morning. I need more coffee. Anyways.
Was it like the tag or something that was? Okay.
I tagged TENNCOM.
Oh, jeez.
Which I don't even know if that's a tennis account.
Weird old guy.
Some guy in Connecticut, TENNCOM.
Good guy.
Wouldn't be the first time I messed up. But welcome. We also have Troy. Thanks for joining.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Where did the name TENNCOM come from?
So the 10 is tennis.
Got it. Weird. Wait.
And the com is community.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I find like one of the tricky things with tennis as a whole, because it's such a tough sport to learn, especially as an adult, it's frustrating when you're trying to learn something and then you run into gatekeepers or whatever. So we wanted to make it feel as inclusive as possible, to build our audience, because I'm selfish, but it's just like, I think you feel so much better when you have a whole tennis community around you. And that's the only reason that I keep playing, is because I'm lucky enough to have that where I live.
Nice. Well, I'm going to admit, you, out of everyone that's here this week, I don't know you at all, really. I mean, so this is a nice opportunity, and we would love to hear your story. How did you come into tennis? How did tennis come to be? And then how did TENNCOM begin?
Yeah. My dad played growing up, so he was inspired by Arthur Ashe. So we were a Korean immigrant family on his side. So having Arthur Ashe as a represented minority was really inspiring for him. And then he played a lot as a junior until he was 16, and then he kind of stopped, just like so many of us do. Mm-hmm. And so tennis was always around in my family because he started playing again just before I was born. But it was always a no pressure thing because he had grown up playing juniors. He had seen the kind of pressure that some parents will put their kids through, which we much more value relationships and family over just like blanket success. So that's how I started playing in a really positive feeling environment. So I played a little bit of junior stuff, but the most that I really played was once I got to maybe second year university, like my arch nemesis from juniors. I just hated him. He like taps me on the back in class. He's like, "Hey, you play tennis, right?" And I was like, oh, it's this guy that I hate, but now we're friends. And he was way better than me. He was at University of Nevada in Reno playing. So he really pushed me to like try to get better and improve my fitness and everything. And then as this was happening, I got a job at a pro shop in Victoria. So that's where I went to university. At this job, another guy got hired a little bit after me, and his name was Steven, and he runs the YouTube channel The Slice Tennis News. So I did Instagram stuff for him and for the store that I worked at. And then February 2020, he got his first press pass to Delray Beach. So we went down together, used the rest of my student loan, and that was my first time like behind a camera making videos, like 12-hour day. We just show up, shook like Milos Raonic's hand. We got a sit-down interview with him, and I was just like, holy cow, this is what can happen if you just walk around with like a $500 camera. So then I was like, this is amazing. I need to figure out how to do this. Started making shoe reviews for him. So my first ever reviews were shoes, which were just terrible. Like I would buy Nike shoes and then return them. I wouldn't even wear them. And then I did the reviews for the store where I started doing more and more rackets. And then I moved to Vancouver. And then I was like, it's too frustrating to do it for someone else. I'm going to do it for myself. And it was never like they were really monitoring what I said, but knowing that it wasn't purely up to me regardless was something that I was fighting against a little bit. And so now I do whatever I want, and I'm happy about it.
There you go, man. That's cool.
Heck yeah. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Very cool. And then follow-up icebreaker question. Talk to me a little bit about, is this your first time in California or just in SLO? And
My first time this far south in California.
South, okay.
So I went to San Francisco with my family a long time ago, like over 10 years ago. And I really enjoyed it. Always wanted to come down to California. I was in Austin last week doing a collab with my friend at Winners Only.
That's
His name
cool.
is Trey. So I've been to the U.S. a little bit more frequently in the last couple of weeks.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then what's Tennis Warehouse, your first impression like?
Oh, mine, it's insane. So like I've been watching, like 2010 was I got started to get into tennis. So I've like watched you since 2010. I watched you when you started. It's crazy to like see the court in person. It's like it's more grand than I imagined in person. I haven't had the full tour because my flight was in late yesterday. But it's crazy, like what a institution in like the best way. And people seem happy, like just walking up here with you, like people are chatty, people are smiling. It's like not every workplace that's what the community is like.
We have a good time.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I asked before, but like, did you somewhat envision the tennis court like kind of tucked in the back of the warehouse? You know, as far as like surrounded by cases of balls and
I
forklifts
guess like the whole shipping infrastructure that you have now blows my mind. Like just seeing the like return section go that far down is crazy.
Yeah.
Like I know you're like the biggest online retailer in tennis, but it's still to see that like it's 100 times bigger than the shop that I worked at, and it's not like we were tiny, like we carried everything.
And this warehouse is small compared to Alpharetta's.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I
So
know. It is crazy. And like we were saying earlier, I think sometimes we forget. And I know I take it for granted some days. And then even, having that tennis court is like just a small little part of this place. But yeah.
and then for me, it's always cool when like the Tennis Warehouse Europe crew comes here, or our Tennis Only Australia, Hayden, they come and visit, you know, and then you really put it together. Like I tell my family and stuff, like, oh, you guys have a warehouse in SLO? Yeah, there, Alpharetta, Shooterwall, Germany, you know, Australia. Oh, wait, you guys are in other countries? Like,
Yeah. It's a worldwide thing. Yeah. And then the fact that it's in San Luis Obispo, of all places, which like you've been to NorCal and like not down to SoCal like LA, but like it's so unique to have this little slice of like this small
the town is beautiful.
Yeah.
Like everything is super nicely taken care of downtown. The hotel is awesome. It's clean.
It's a fun place.
Yeah.
I don't know if you probably haven't gone yet, but like literally if you go like 5 miles that way, you'll hit the ocean. But then we have this beautiful like hiking and like then there's wine.
Yeah. Michelle's happy place, the beach.
Yeah.
I know. I was spotting those vineyards off the plane. Like,
I know. I was like,
Gonna have to
wait,
have some.
we're doing all this like fun tennis and play testing, but we need a day where we all go play test some wine. I'll take the lead there.
She can be the tour guide.
I got you guys.
And then we got some good breweries too. Right?
Right next door. Yeah, exactly. I don't know. So maybe stay tuned. More to come.
After hours.
I know.
that's when we go on the forums.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
That's funny. There's been lots of questions about you and the Gravity 98.
Oh, really?
Yeah. What?
Okay, so I posted my impressions on the Gravity 98, and I thought this is a very loud racket. So I shared that on the forum, and then I just got attacked like crazy.
And sorry,
I wasn't sorry.
when you say loud, are you like the pop?
The pop.
Okay, because some people say loud in terms of like figuratively, like the color or that's
no,
loud.
because I hit the prototype,
Yeah,
so
the
it
blacked
was
out one.
black.
Yeah. Okay.
And I was like, it sounded pretty loud to me. And like there's a snap to the loudness as well. Like it's not just like a dull thud. Like a lot of like the Yonex or the Bablat's a little bit duller in terms of their noise. I don't know if that's the like muting of the whole situation, whereas Head's always been a little bit snappier. Like I thought the Radicals are pretty loud. The Extreme Tour, especially the first generation, the one that I was using, was like generally a bit of a louder frame. So I said like, oh, it's loud and it's fun, but it's loud. And then like this guy was like raging.
I didn't mean to bring it up in a bad way. I meant it more like
someone was asking about the Switch and stuff.
Oh yeah. No, like it's a nice racket, and like I ordered at the place an order for one because I want to like mess around with it because it's fun. But like seeing the high level players in my area, there's no way like I want to use a thin beam 98 square inch racket against these guys. It's like I need some help because I'm not good enough to keep up unless I get some help from my frame. So that's why I'm using the Rafa, the Pure Aero Rafa. I love like the older layup. I think it's way more raw and connected, and I don't have the tennis elbow issues that like a lot of people might struggle with. So it's like an easy switch, and I'm thinking way more than thinking, oh, should I switch to the gravity? I'm thinking, how should I buy 10 of these Rafas or and save them for the rest of my life, or do I trust something else is going to come along?
Yeah,
that's interesting.
And I think I was getting some rackets ready for some content for each of the influencers, and your Rafa. You go with the Toro line mains, the O-Toro, and then a string. It's called Sync.
Yeah, so Restring Sync is a company that I work with. It's a little firmer. Like I love O-Toro, but especially in such an open pattern racket as the Rafa, it's a bit soft, and I lose a little bit of that firmer ball feel, which like I've just grown to really enjoy. Like I grew up playing the Aero Pro drives. I used Golden Set Snake Bite, which is like super stiff, cheap Chinese string for a long time. Okay. So it's just like I'm used to like that boardy feel.
I was gonna say, this is making sense. I get this.
But I can't use your racket. Like holy moly.
But the stiff boardy feel is a a collective thing right here.
There's a consumer. There is a tennis player that loves that.
Me, not so much.
Yeah, okay.
I'm going 58 RA right here, baby, or something
low.
Close to
well,
it.
I'm
just kidding.
I the other day said the Percept 100D was softer, and I got railed in the comment
the Percept
section.
line is known for being soft. I think the 100D is like mid 60s.
I don't know. It's
but
still
the Percept
soft.
line is known as being like a thinner beam. It's the Yonex softer frame.
I also put TENNCOM and not TENNCOM.
Yeah, but you've also hit a million rackets, and the guy who thinks the Percept is stiff has hit 5, and they're all worn out. And
they have big opinions on the 5 they've hit.
Yeah,
big opinions.
But it's like I hate that kind of dynamic when we've talked about this before, but like when you talk to consumers and stuff. Oh, I hate Head racket, or I hate Nike shoes, and they tried one shoe like 10 years ago, and it
didn't work.
Bothered their foot, and I'm like, okay, you hate the brand now. Anyways, sorry.
Yeah. Well, so like I went through a big soft racket phase as well. Like I was using the VCore 95 2018 for several years, but now that like. So my business partner, Simon, who does TENNCOM with me, he's a little bit less on screen. His girlfriend was doing ITFs, and she hit so hard, and it's just like, I can't have the racket be soft and flexy because it doesn't redirect when I'm not in time. It's going to bend, and like the ball doesn't go back into the court. Whereas if I get my arrow on it, because it's so stiff, all I have to do is get it out, and at least that gives me a chance to have her dump it in the net or whatever. So
I definitely understand that part.
I was going to ask you, what are some of the rackets that have stood out this year that you've tested that you really like, that kind of like showcase like some of the newer technologies that we've seen? And
the 100D was my favorite. of this year, I think. Like, I really did like that Gravity 98. I think that was not what I was expecting them to do with that frame at all. I thought it's going to be way more of like a Gravity Pro, but to me it feels like closer to the MP in terms of just like the snap you get. So I think that's going to be fun, but that's not super relatable because limited people have tried it. But the 100D, like, we took some clips the day that like we were filming for it, and I was just like on fire that day. Just like I hit huge. And so
and were you playing this stock at the time, or did you add any weight?
I can't do stock.
I thought you was gonna say I can't disclose my.
No, I feel you on that.
Yeah.
So
what's your setup?
So right now, insanely, the Rafa 290 that I got initially from the Canadian distributor, strong with like a 125 millimeter string, was 338 strong.
Swing weight,
which is like crazy for
beefy
that
swing weight,
frame. So I used to be kind of like 345 static with a 330-ish swing weight, but now
345 strong.
345 strong.
Okay, so a little over 12,
with like just under 32 millimeter or centimeter balance point, and that's kind of where I was at for a really long time, like through VCore 95, through Extreme Tour. Then I went to a slightly the spec that I'm referring to is a slightly lighter spec than those two that I had on my whiteouts. But then I just clicked with this Rafa. Like, I can swing it so much faster, even though the swing weight is higher, which is like really counterintuitive. But I'm talking like every couple months I check in with this guy that I met through the Tennis Warehouse forum. So I'm like an addict on that place. So his username is Brandon when he was doing the recoil weight stuff. So we chat a little bit. He's like very well read on Crawford Lindsay stuff, doctor. He's not a doctor.
Have you met him yet?
I haven't. I really want to.
Well, we'll introduce you when we're done.
I want to see that lab.
Chat with Crawford, man. Bring him some baked goods.
Yeah, he loves pastries. Facts. That's how I try to bribe him back to the podcast.
Okay, that's a good...
it doesn't work.
I'll remember that. So, yeah, he was saying something that, like, the higher swing weight has something to do with, like, there's a specific word that he adopted from Crawford that it's about like this motion. There's like more acceleration with the higher swing weight or something once you can get the swing weight going. So I don't really know. As you can tell by my stumbling through this.
No, it's all good.
But there's magic. I'm telling you.
Yeah,
maybe it's just the loud paint job that adds to the magic. But.
No, I know. It's a fun racket to play with. I played more with the Origin.
Yeah.
And tried to find ones that the swing weights weren't so high. But it's just fun to hit with. And it's such a cool racket color-wise.
Yeah.
I have one with like a bright yellow string, kind of similar to like a Hurricane. And it pops, man.
Yeah, the Origin that I tried was a little bit under. Like, it was at 350 strong. But it was
nice.
it was still too much. Like, I don't get along with rackets that have a lot of like throat weight. So whatever it is, like,
that.
Yeah.
Even some of the E-zones that I've been hitting lately, it's like they feel like they have more throat weight, and it feels just like it lags through the swing a little bit. And so I can't get the spec up to what I want and maintain the swing speed. So that's why I'm like worried, like, because it's so rare to have such a polarized frame as these Rafas.
Well, I say stock up if you like it. Just saying. That's just my personal opinion. As someone that like can't let go of a racket that's no longer available. But
just
not
let it go, Michelle.
This is not about me. You mentioned a bunch of rackets that all have not very different, but different string patterns.
Yeah.
And at first I was like, oh, he's a 1619 guy, but it sounds like you're enjoying that 100D string pattern.
1819.
Yeah. I think just talking about patterns is a little bit dismissive sometimes from what's actually going on. Like, I'll often see people go, you got to have 8 mains in the throats. Like, no, you don't, because how do you know, like, the dimensions of the throat? Some rackets have really wide throats, so then you'll have huge string spacing. For me, when it comes to a pattern, all I want is for it to be consistent. Like,
Yes.
I don't like the drop off center anymore. Like I used to go, oh, it's so helpful because it tells you when you screw up. It's like I hit it in the net. I already know I screwed up. That was just like some copium for me, like when I was in way worse shape, because I've been playing like 2 hours a day.
Nice.
And like trying to like get in better shape. My dad was like, I bet you can't do 100 push-ups by Christmas. And I did like 5 on the first day in September. So I've been like trying to get in better shape.
Yes, you're like, watch me. Let's go.
Yeah. So I did 70 the other day.
You don't know me, son?
Wait, you should challenge. We should have him challenge Booney.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
Oh, push-ups on camera is
No, it doesn't have to be on camera. Yeah. He just always jokes about public push-ups, but like, no, I mean, it's been a minute, so it could be fun.
Yeah,
we're competitive. No. I don't know if you noticed.
Well, you have to be.
But I exactly agree with you on the patterns. I've gotten used to different string spacing because, like you said, not every 16-19 is the same. Not every 18-20 is the same. So the string spacing has a lot to do with it, and I've become a big fan of just rackets when they keep the string spacing very even, like even distribution between mains and crosses. It just gives me a more consistent response and launch angle off the racket, whereas like some of these brands that are doing the really tight and then wider on the outside, sometimes it works and sometimes it's fine, but more times than not I find an inconsistent trajectory. If I maybe slightly mishit, the ball might feel like it's launching or going lower because you're getting different grab, so to speak, from the string bed. And it's like, stop doing all these dynamics.
Yeah, like that was a big criticism with the RF, the new RFs, right? Yeah. But I didn't mind it because like I felt like the point of that racket and the point of being fed like is to find the sweet spot. So I was finding the sweet spot with that frame. And so I didn't mind it. I think like if you're going to have a frame that is a little bit less stable torsionally, it's okay to open it up off center just for a little bit of extra help. But if you're going to have a racket that has edge to edge sweet spot, I don't want any variability at all. But I did like the RFs. I was expecting to hate them, but I like them.
But how do you compare it to the RF97? How would you, the new RFO ones?
So I hit them on the same day. I hit them on the same day. I like the V14 Pro Staff 97 the most. Like of the three, the RF is too heavy for me. And a lot of the times I've hit it in the past couple months, like the string setups have been wrong too. So it's a bit tough to say. Like one guy who I hit with like all the time in Winnipeg when I lived there is like same as you. He's like 60 pounds, absolute psycho.
Nickname.
And so that's like, I struggle. Like I feel it way too much through the racket. And then the other setup was like really close to like an RPM power thing, which I had as I was doing the testing for a very similar string to RPM power, Grapple Snake Paradox Pro. That was like the one and only time I ever got tennis elbow. And so I was overspinning it. So like doing this too much, but now anything that feels similar, it's like 2 shots and my elbow flares up. It's like it's remembered the feel.
Oh no.
And so I just put it down, go back to my old racket, same day. It's fine.
Yeah.
So I don't exactly know what's up.
I felt like the racket, those were string sensitive rackets also though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I think is a valuable characteristic personally. What do you think?
Well, the RF01 or the Pro?
But string sensitivity in rackets.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I kind of talked about it in the RF01 Pro. I don't know if it was written or in the video, but, or I think it was the customization one.
I think it was the customization.
On the 01,
yeah,
and weighting it up because it's not as stiff as the Pro.
Right.
But like I talked about how like I was using 17 gauge Hyper G in that test. But Roger, when he was doing his testing different frames, he's always using Champion's Choice. So it's a totally different experience, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's a big part of like the RF97 because for me, the RF97 has always been a little bit on the stiff side.
Yeah, no,
and I think that's why I like the Blade Pro so much because it kind of has a similar mold to the RF97 minus the perimeter weighting, but it's softer. Yeah. It's more plush. And so, I mean, if I was testing every racket in for a new frame like Roger with Champion's Choice gut mains, I probably would have a different perspective, and I probably would like slightly stiffer frames than I typically do because I test everything with full poly.
Yeah.
You're not getting me away from full poly just because I'm so used to it. The control, the bite, the spin, the consistency.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like, as a reviewer, I need to have a frame that's string sensitive. If I'm just having something that feels the same, how could I possibly talk about strings being different?
So when you're reviewing, like if someone sends you rackets, are you using, sometimes they send string, are you using the string they send, or are you restring your own setup?
So since this restring sync came out, they supply me with strings.
That's fine.
Like that makes it really easy for me to continuously use them. But B, it plays quite neutrally. It's round, but it's very slick. So I can still get spin, but it doesn't bring out unpredictability out of frames. The feel is quite connected, but it's not overly stiff or harsh. It's just like very neutral. So I'll always start now with that.
Full bed? Or do you mix it with Otoro?
Full bed. Okay. I only have started mixing it with Otoro for my Rafa. Okay. I haven't really messed around with other setups, with that setup and other frames yet. Because I want to test the racket with a string that I know and I understand. And then from there, I can go, here's the data that I have on this racket. What do I think it could use? Do I want it to be softer? Do I want better control? Do I want a little more bite? Almost always I want more bite because I grew up using this like super sharp twisted snake bite string. So like I like that a bit of grab, but I've become less tolerant of inconsistencies when it comes to like those twisted strings or strings that are too sharp, because like sometimes it really catches the edge and sometimes it doesn't. But now, when I first started, I was not this diligent about trying a bunch of setups, but now it's like I want to try it until I like it, because if I don't like the racket, I can't talk, like I don't want to make the video. I don't want to slog through like whatever, like 2 hours writing a script and then 30 minutes trying to talk about something I hate.
Well, and that's kind of interesting because it relates to Tennis Warehouse, and you know, you guys see our videos, and a lot of times, you know, we'll get interesting comments, or I don't know why I keep bringing up comments today, but it's
because they hurt.
I think they stop. I don't know. Anyways, what I think Tennis Warehouse does really well is pair rackets, strings, shoes, etc. to the right group of playtesters.
I agree.
Which is really nice, and I don't know if everyone always realizes that. So, like, if there is a heavier racket, there's a good chance Troy and I will be on that playtest.
Well, you can tell as soon, well, like if you're a loyal viewer of the Tennis Warehouse channel, you can tell as soon as it opens. If it's you opening it, it's going to be a little bit heavier. If it's you, or if it's, well, Chris is, I guess, doing lighter stuff now. But if it's Brittany, then it's going to be
290 sometimes. Yeah.
So, like, that's why people be like, are you going to review the V3 Clash? It's like, no, that racket's not designed for me. I'm
going to
campaign
for you to try it. Have you hit it?
No.
Okay. I am going to campaign for you to try it.
I'll try it.
Okay.
And just the regular weighted one, or?
I'm going to campaign for you to try the Clash Pro, because the way it was presented to me was that this is not for you because of your longer, well, what did they say? Like, not longer, just fast? I don't think I swing that fast. I just swing long.
But anytime someone tells Michelle this is not for you, she's going to prove them wrong.
That's how I switched to the RF97.
Just kidding.
I don't like to do what people think I'm going to do. But yeah, so basically Wilson presented it to us, and they're like, okay, this isn't for the fast swinger. And I was like, cool, no worries, I don't need to touch it, right? They all went to play test it. I wasn't part of that play test, not because of that, because I had something else going on. And I hit it with it a couple days later. I love that racket.
I've always appreciated the Clash for what it is.
The way you were talking about the Gravity 98, that's how I feel about the Clash.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
It's fun.
I'll grab it.
And it also is loud. I'm not going to lie.
I love that. The Clash the first one was loud. I didn't really hit this. I hit the second one once against this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I appreciate the Clash for what it is. but I also like to make fun of it.
I'm gonna. I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm getting older. I'm just like, tennis should be fun, and every time I hit with that racket, it's so fun.
Because I'm just
fun.
like we're not pros.
Yeah, no one's going pro here.
No.
Nope.
Sorry, sorry, Troy.
Nope. I agree with that.
That's funny. So I did a little recon work and like was asking Grace about like all you guys and everything, and she was like, Beckett is gonna be a techie, and I'm like, huh. I didn't really get that right away from like your video content and your social, and then like hearing you guys talk, I'm like, yep, we could like bring Crawford in, like sit him down, and you guys could go at it and talk specs. So maybe you can elaborate more on like why you love that side of the tennis.
Good question. So I think the reason that I do it is because I want to present information that viewers can trust.
Yeah.
So, and especially as I became more and more aware that the tolerances between different rackets are so different, and some brands are better than others, of course, I want to tell the viewers exactly what I've tested so that if they have a different part of this is selfish. So if they have a different experience, they could understand maybe why they had a different experience from me. And I think that's more about what I'm trying to present when I'm going into being more analytical. I've also moved away from that because I found it to be a little bit more draining and less fun to present. And I also, another one of the reasons why, especially like at the beginning, I was more into doing this kind of stuff is because I was trying to capture a specific audience as I was smaller. And so what I've noticed with YouTube specifically is when you're smaller, accuracy is a lot more important because you're dealing with people who are nerds and watch YouTube all day, which I love. That's me. I watch YouTube all day. That's why I wanted to make my own videos.
Yeah.
But I've become less and less interested in the analytical side as things become more repetitive for me.
That's cool. That's a good answer. Because he's all tech usually, and I'm all emotions.
To a certain extent,
usually.
There's a lot of common sense in my thought processes to things.
Yeah.
But I just, I guess maybe in school I like physics principles, stuff like that. So that kind of helped, Yeah. I wasn't a physics major or anything, but just the basic principles. But also I just think more consumers and people should maybe dig into the research and the facts a little bit before they make such big judgments and stereotypes. I mean, we shouldn't judge. We should try to eliminate judging and stereotyping in general. But if you're going to do it, at least learn something. And this pro uses this. I'm like, yeah, right. Or they just think a certain way about a product. Like I said earlier about brands. I don't like Nike shoes, or I don't like that. I don't like that Technofiber. I'm like, how many have you tried?
Yeah.
And if they're legit and they've tested everything, I'll make your claim. I can talk to you. But if you say, I hit a Technofiber back in 2008 and it just hurt my arm, it's like you deal with these customers all the time. It's just, all right, dude, open your mind a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Another question I have, changing paths. You're based in Canada, and a lot of times I hear from friends in Canada, or even, on YouTube and everything, you guys don't get as much stuff as we do from some of the brands. So that's going to lead me to ask you, are there trends happening in Canada that aren't happening in the US, or anything trending in Canada versus the US? And any frustrations? Because I know, like, one of my friends is obsessed with Nike, and she can never get the shoes.
Vince Carter got his jersey retired. Sorry. The Toronto Raptors. Anyway.
Yeah. I'm a little bit more disconnected from the local happenings now.
Okay.
And then the other thing is it's very regional, as I'm sure it is here. So the group of people that I play with in Vancouver, a lot more plugged in, a lot more connected. There are shops in Vancouver who have specific hookups to products that are not normally available. And they're like, got to phone them, or you got to go to the store and then pay in cash type of situation. Like there's one specific store.
If you know, you know.
Yeah.
And whereas when I go to Winnipeg, so where I have my in-laws are in Winnipeg, it's very different because Winnipeg, it's north of North Dakota. So it's cold, not much tennis. The public tennis courts are almost unusable because it freezes every year like crazy. So you got huge cracks, but they've also decided that like 1 meter behind the baseline to the fence is good.
That's like an Agassi type court.
Oh my God. Yeah, right.
Take it on the rise, baby.
Yeah.
Everything's in here.
Well, that could be good for you.
Yeah, I'm here for it.
So that leads to very different stuff. So the people who live there, it's a lot more about like, how can I find the deal? What's cheaper?
Oh, yeah.
Because there's so much less available, they don't see everything. But now that we have a more robust schedule of content creation for tennis, which I think tennis was really slow to adopt, people are becoming more and more aware. And then the people that I meet in Vancouver, because I moved there as an adult, so like I didn't have a big community, a lot of them are viewers. So then my experience is also biased because like I'll be talking to people and they'll be like, yeah, I bought all my stuff because of you. I'm like, okay, cool. Thank you for using my affiliate link, but you didn't have to do that.
That's cool though. Are you testing a lot of shoes too?
No, because of Zach, I'm just like,
I know.
dude.
I feel like he kind of owns that.
Yeah, like he offered to do a shoe review with me this week, so
Cute.
I think I'll do one. But shoes are tough. Like I first started doing shoes, right? But the risk with shoes is if it doesn't really fit you, you can't keep testing it because it's risky on court. So I stopped doing it, didn't have as much fun doing it, was not sure what was my value add going to be compared to like a standard shoe review. Whereas with rackets, I felt like I think I have a value add. I'll be a little more analytical and maybe I'll be a little more try to be cinematic because that's the kind of content that I like consuming with cars. That's where I get a lot of my influence from. And as the channel is evolving, I'm enjoying more of the writing side and the storytelling side. So we're trying to do stuff that's a little bit more fun and not just me in the house measuring specs and then telling people what they are.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Talking about the car influence, he's got to sit down and chat with Chris.
I
now.
know.
Oh, yeah. I chatted him up already.
Yeah.
I saw the ages ago. I was like, he showed us 356 race car in a video, and it's just like stuck with me that Chris is the coolest guy in the world.
Yeah, you guys could probably talk for hours about cars, and he would love it. And sounds like you would too. So yeah. I think even the shirt he wore today, he might have changed, was a Porsche shirt.
I think he was wearing a T-dub thing.
Okay. He switched.
Yeah, that's all. Like Simon and I, we're driving around Austin last week because we were doing that collab, and we're just sitting in the back seat of our friend Trey's car, like, look at that car. And it's just like some weird spec economy car that we just like don't see because in Canada things will be rusted out, but down here it's like things are clean. So like I'll see some car that's like not a nice car, but it looks like in such good condition that it's like exciting to me. And it's the same thing with rackets. Like you see an oldie, like there's these guys who play up the street from us and they all have arrows. And for some reason, they're like a couple guys have like original Aero Pro drives. Like you never see that, but they're still rocking it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, that's one of the questions we've asked some people today is if there was an old racket that you could bring back, what would it be?
My dream came true. It was Pure Aero Rafa came out.
You're dialed.
Yeah.
So you manifested that.
I didn't even know. Like, I don't know if I just like overlooked because it was 290 or if it wasn't reported as clearly, but like, it's a re-release.
The only thing, the 290 Aero Rafa, like as far as like not having Cortex and it's got the old APD type feel, but the string pattern is a little more open than the old
it's
APD.
Got the
origin
PA,
is more,
the new Pure Aero pattern.
So,
which like I'm not having issues with it.
Yeah.
So it's just like theoretically it's more open, so it's less control, but it doesn't bother me. So I don't care. It goes through strings, but then I can brag on the forums about how fast I break strings.
Works for you, man.
That's awesome. How into pro side of tennis are you? Are you super into it and like seeing what everyone's using, or is that?
Yeah, for sure. Okay. So I follow them. I'm better at following the men's and the women's.
Okay. Who's like the ones that catch your eye or that you're like most interested in?
Like Rafa's my hero.
Okay.
So, first of all, he's my hero. So it's like
literally
sad to see him retire, but it's also sad to see him play now. It's tough.
It's time.
I love Tommy Paul. I love his switch to the V-Core 98 too. I like how Yannick seems to be a little more active about trying to have their players use current offerings. It's hard for me to cheer for the Canadians now as much as I really want to. I just like want to see some more consistency from them. But the Americans are awesome.
I'm a big FAA guy, and I'm just like, come on.
But you never know. He's still young, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know.
It's like I don't know if they are missing the killer instinct or what it is.
You guys are too nice.
Yeah.
It's fine.
I love the Russian players. I think they're hilarious. I like seeing the personalities on court. Same. That's my favorite thing. Like I want it to be exciting. Like I don't actively follow it, but because Simon is so into it, we watch the UFC, and the way that they like promote the individual players, it's just like or fighters, it's so exciting, and I want to see more of that. But it's tough because it's like you play so much and then you lose every week.
Mm-hmm.
So I can barely play rec tournaments without being so depressed.
That's why I don't compete.
It's a brutal sport, man.
That's like the fact of it all is like.
But you just become. I'm sorry, I'm a big Aaron Rodgers guy. You become one with the darkness, man. Just accept that you're gonna lose.
I mean, you can accept it all day long. It still sucks.
Just become one with the darkness.
And I'm not getting paid like Aaron Rodgers is getting paid.
I know, right? 40, how many millions?
I'm not getting paid anything to sign up for a tournament. I'm paying you. To lose.
It's a brutal sport.
Oh man, it's brutal and exhausting.
But I do follow the UFC too, and the characters in that is cool.
They bring it out. Like you make or break based on how much people care about you,
mm-hmm.
whether they hate you or they love you.
Yeah,
and I love that.
Yeah, they talk about like the champions, but also like the guys that are the stars. Like a Sugar Sean O'Malley.
Yeah,
might not currently be a champion, but he's a star.
Every Batman needs a Joker.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you mentioned the Russians. I'm always thinking like the Rublev to the Medvedev. Yeah, because isn't Rublev Medvedev's god?
Yeah.
Godfather.
They're tight.
Yeah, and like stuff like that is just cool. And like you see their banter. Shout out to ATP. I feel like they're doing a really good job.
They've picked it up
right?
so well. It's
like,
unbelievable.
We finally get to see all these like behind the scenes, and even that Rublev piece that they did where he like did the letter to his 12 or 13-year-old self. Have you seen that?
No.
It's so good. You'll cry. You'll cry, or maybe you won't. But I cried. Rublev. Yeah. Because
he's an emotional guy. Like, it's obvious.
He, like, is like, if I were to tell my 13-year-old self, like, one thing, and it was, like, all these things, like, you won't be happier when you're in the top 10 or top 20 or, like, it was just
That's
kind of
rough.
Yeah.
Because you can see he's not happy right now.
And as I keep saying, because you saw our office, we have a very open space to discuss and debate things. But some people, I really like him, but some people in our office don't like him as much. And like I was saying, the only person he's ever been horrible and mean to is himself.
Yeah. Like I got frustrated seeing the comments on Reddit or whatever, and they're like, he needs help, get this guy off the court. It's like, yeah, he does need help, but like it's not your position to lecture this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
it's part of it. It's like you all have everyone has to go through their journey of figuring it out.
It's his journey. If he gets over it, he could be a huge champion.
Right?
And he's a huge Rafa fan. That's like his favorite player. Yeah.
He's got from what I understand, pretty good work ethic. He's got a charity set up. He does a lot with the kids. Anyways, I'm gushing. He might be my new favorite right now. I don't know. Speaking of, any hot takes going into the new year?
I'm begging to see Ben Shelton pick it up. I'm a huge Holger Rune fan as well, which is a hot take.
He's growing on me. Originally, he wasn't.
...
I wasn't like a big fan, you know, with his mom in
Is
his corner all the
Patrick
time.
Or not?
But he seems like he's like getting that, like he's growing a little bit mentally. He's getting that fight aspect to him. You know, anyways.
You see what Jim Courier said about him in the last week or so? Mm-hmm. It was like, Holger needs to go out there with a plan and execute. He's just like, I'm paraphrasing. He's just like going and trying his best in every rally, and there's no like visible strategy. He's not trying to use like got one of the best two-handers in the world. Why isn't he like finding that two-hander cross-court rally and like using that as his weapon, where he's just doing random stuff?
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought that was a really good comment. If he could find someone to like really push his discipline mentally that way, I think he could be a huge champion, because it looks like he wants it as much as anyone. And like, that's what I love. Like, my other hot take is like, it's tough for me to see someone like Casper Ruud go play a final against Rafa, and he has way too much respect for Rafa that it's like he's just ready to walk off the court after 3. Because he knows that Rafa is like unbeatable. But it's like, I think you need to be a bit of an entitled, spoiled brat if you're going to think that you're going to be able to win every single match every single week, because that's crazy.
Mm-hmm. That little chip on your shoulder, kind of like a John McEnroe.
Yeah, world against you.
A little curious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Kyrgios can do the slam that he wants to do too.
We've been discussing that one a lot. Yeah. You think it's going to be Australia, or you think it's going to be Wimbledon?
It's got to be Wimbledon. Yeah. Especially now, if Djokovic can't play, like the guys are not really finding it on grass as much. We'll see if Alcaraz can kind of quiet down his vulnerabilities. Because I don't know, he looks a bit less motivated than he has been in the past.
Nice. Those are good hot takes. I like it.
Is it the Sabalenka and Iga show on the other side? On the WTA side?
Yeah. Who do you like on the WTA?
I like Coco a lot. She's so fast. Like, especially the highlights for when she won that US Open. I was like, how did you get all of those balls? Like, she's unbelievable. So I cheer for Coco. Sabalenka's hilarious. I like Sue Wei a lot in the doubles. I think she's super entertaining to watch.
She's awesome. I think if the one that came back this year, if she can stay healthy, she's going to be on certain surfaces fighting the best players for titles, is Mukova.
Yeah.
She's got all the shots. And her movement, the way she moves on her toes, reminds me a little bit of Barty. She's got that like bounce in her step. You know, I don't know. She's one of my favorites to watch.
She's good. She bores me a little bit. But Rabakina, who also bores me a little bit, just hired Ivanisevic.
Yeah, so she's going to get even more boring, but start winning.
So I'm curious to see how that works.
You got to watch more Mukova. I don't think she's boring.
Okay.
She's got like, I mean, maybe if you don't like craftiness.
Don't like tennis,
but like slice, and she's got the touch.
No, I mean personality boring.
Oh yeah, that's something else. I'm talking about her shots.
But I'm like you. I need the electric. I need to like cheer emotionally connect. Yeah.
But Dan Rogers, your favorite player, and he was always like,
he is not boring.
He was like so chill though. Like he never was like he was never like drawing attention to himself.
But he's like got such a personality still. I'm not saying they have to have a temper tantrum.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
But he didn't do much other than like a couple fist pumps a match.
He walks in a room and you can feel his energy.
Yeah, but on court he wasn't like eccentric or like anything. He was very calm and like maybe 2 fist pumps a match, and that was it. So
I agree with Troy.
Manish, bring it back up.
No, I think he's an awesome human being, and the presence, and he's such a sweetheart. I get that. But I'm talking about on court.
But I don't like sweethearts. I want bad people to win.
The bad boys.
Yeah.
That's going to be the clip.
Who are some of the bad boys on tour right now?
Kyrgios.
He's not even on tour.
Like Shelton's borderline. Like with the phone thing. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Rune's a bad boy, big time. Although also a mama's boy, which is funny.
For sure.
That was the part I didn't like at the beginning when his mama was in his box and he was just like talking to her all the time. That was the part but I think he's growing up.
Yeah, I love the story of she thinks it's good luck for her to smoke, so she's out chain smoking at Wimbledon, just like sucking those things down. Wow. That's hilarious.
Wow. Yeah, who else is bad? I don't know.
Who's gotten like...
Who's sassy?
Tiafoe's been a little bad lately.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah.
He's an awesome guy. I met him briefly once. It was awesome.
Wouldn't you say a guy like Sinner's kind of boring on court?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's why I have a hard time. Like, I like him, but I have a hard time loving him.
I personally just have been cheering more for Sinner than Alcaraz, I will admit. Even though, like, yeah, he's a little bit clinical sometimes.
Clinical's a good word.
I just see in his eyes
it's vanilla.
that he looks like he's capable of something bad.
Like, never mind. I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah, like, you don't know what's in that Gucci bag.
Oh.
What about Taylor Fritz? I'm saying that the blonde is bringing out the personality.
I love Taylor. I think I like his
Taylor
girlfriend too. I always cheer for him, but maybe that's because we look equally gawky when we play.
That's funny.
How about this up and coming guy, this Giovanni and Petchy Pericard?
Crazy. Oh, I could not believe that average first serve miles an hour in the final 131 or something.
That's insane.
Unbelievable.
And it's not like his ground strokes are like horrendous. Like,
No, he can play.
they're better than they're probably better than Dr. Karlovic, right? Like at this point, yeah, like
100%.
he's gonna be. I think he can tighten up those ground strokes. He can be dangerous.
Yeah, because he's got nerves of steel too, like just bombing those things when it was tight. He had a bunch of tight matches leading up.
Where's
to
he from again?
France.
He's French, which usually
yeah.
they're very emotional. But he's got blood or steel in the ice in the veins.
Yeah,
That's
he's
what
got
it
ice
is.
in the veins. I don't know what it is.
He got that Federer style on court, you know.
Yeah.
But do you think he could
Keep coming
benefit?
for me.
Do you think he could benefit from a slightly more controlled or softer racket? He's a pure drive guy.
No.
He's like, nah, dude.
Pure drive, like, because his bread and butter is on serve. He's like,
He doesn't need it.
for him, it's all about court speed, I think. Like, that's the other thing. It's like the organizers decide who wins by deciding the court speed.
Hot take.
I know. That's where.
Well, and we almost started it with Jonas Tennis Nerd, but the ball conversation.
Yeah. I don't know what ball to buy right now. Like, I tried Technofiber, which I loved. I've been using our Tango, which I think is factory seconds of those. But, like, we've been getting marathons, which I use Pro Pen marathons for the longest time, or Pen Tours, which I'm not finding as much anymore. And it's like they go flat or they come flat. And I don't like how the Dunlops fluff up so much because it's so hard to hit through the court.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, I was gonna say no. I
know. I do like when they get fluffy because it helps my spin and stuff. You know.
Well, I'm a spin player too, but like
you can't hit through.
I have a hard time hitting through it.
Yeah.
I think I hit like decently hard, so I'm like getting better at hitting through it. But it slows down so much that it feels like once it's gotten to the baseline, anyone could get to it.
Well, see, the slower the ball, I've said this before, it gives me a chance to stay in the rally with Michelle.
I have much
You know?
FOMO after talking about tennis like all morning that all I want to do is now go hit. I'm like, wait, stop. Like,
I want to hit
go
with both
play.
of you badly.
If you give Michelle the fast BB tennis balls, it's over. It's like you can't even stay in the rally.
I want to get blown off the court.
Let's go.
That's a great quote. That's a great quote right there. I want to get blown off the court today.
We played this junior last week in Austin. I never felt so helpless. And he had just come back from a horrible wrist injury too. And he had been back for like a month. And it was just like, wow.
Amazing player.
And he was like, I think he's top 100 in the country or something.
That's pretty good.
But just like this, I don't think I've played with someone who hits more spin. And it was on clay too. So it's like even worse. But it's like over my head. And I'm like 6 feet tall. It's like that does not happen.
That's funny. Well, I think we'll have time hopefully this week. I know you guys have more tennis today, and then tomorrow you guys have a big packed schedule, so we'll get out there for sure.
Yeah, it's easy because I don't have to organize it.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, we were out of time, but this was super fun.
That was a blast. That was like 5 minutes.
I know, right? It's easy.
I know.
It just flies by when you're having fun and trolling Michelle. Just kidding. Beckett, where can people find all of your socials and your website? Tell us.
So my website is TENNCOM.media. It's not like a .com. It's because they put out a bunch of new ones. TENNCOM.media. Also on Instagram, which I'm not the best at. And then TENNCOM on YouTube, which is the thing I care most about. It's my baby.
Oh, we love that.
Tennis community. I like
tennis
it.
Community,
at first, I wasn't sure if it was
con.
communications.
Yeah.
But I like the community, man. Yeah. Bring it in.
Bring it in. Well, thank you for joining us and happy hitting.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.